Hello, Josh.
Hello, Wes. How are you, mate?
I'm good, buddy. How you going?
Very well.
All right, we are here for another go-around of a review. I think we've both spent a bit of time having a crack at a newish game recently, being Mortal Kombat 11.
We did. Well, I certainly did. I had a great time.
You got stuck into it, didn't you?
Yeah, a little bit.
When I let you borrow it, we'll jump right in anyway. So, how long? I can't even think off the top of my head how long it's been out. A few weeks, maybe a month. Something like that, I think, when I picked it up. But you had a good time. How long did you spend with it?
Look, I only had the one session with it, but I spent probably a solid 3-4 hours on it.
Oh.
Yeah, no, the wife was away, so I had plenty of time to indulge.
The unusual free time.
Correct.
I saw something too on social media about she's into a book series at the moment, so you might have a solid weekend coming up.
Exactly.
She doesn't want to be disturbed. So, to go with initial, I guess, first experiences with it, the Mortal Kombat series, I played the arcade game when the original was out so long ago. I think I used to spend a lot of time with schoolmates on the Nintendo 64. I think it was Mortal Kombat 2.
Yep.
Way back then. So I've got a little bit of experience, but recently haven't been as into it.
I haven't been into beat 'em up since maybe Tekken 3. It's been a long time between drinks for me. So going back to it was fresh. It was very fresh.
It's how's it compare to a Tekken in your memory of Tekken?
Well, the graphics are infinitely better. It's very polished. Yeah, we're looking at 10 years between titles, so they'd want to be a little bit more polished.
I hope so.
But realistically, as far as a beat 'em up goes, the gameplay is very similar. So you've got left kick, right punch, left punch. And then combinations of it. So if you've played it before, it's very familiar going back into it. The tutorial, I skipped most of it.
I didn't.
No. And I think we had very different experiences based off that.
I guess for me, with stuff like this, I prefer to go through and do all the tutorials full, and I read instructions too, I guess. I'm just one of those.
Yeah, you would.
Not manly men in that sense, I guess.
Well, I mean, I tried, but there's only so many times you can try and execute a single punch before you get it right, before you can progress. I tried, and then I just jumped straight into it, and I had a great time. Again, it's not new content, new controls that you have to learn. So
true.
It felt natural, and I was able to get straight into it.
So you've spent more time basically jumping in, but then just looking at what the move lists in the pause menu, where it tells you this combination works, that's that move, and away you go.
To be completely honest, I didn't even do that. It was more by feel.
Okay.
It was maybe half a degree beyond button mashing, like an educated button mashing. Like I knew what it was supposed to do, and once you get some muscle memory of this does that, you can string it together, and then this does this now. And it was a learn by doing.
Okay, so it's intuitive in that sense. How are you going with like special moves where it's like down, back, X?
Yeah, no, I didn't get that far.
You haven't thrown it. That's basically you're just pretty much fighting with combinations.
Correct.
Okay.
Instinctively.
Okay.
What it does well is it lets you do some special moves, and it gives you the on-screen commands to do so. Like your left and right bumper will give you some sort of execution move, which was cool. Like I didn't have to delve too far into it to learn special moves to make it enjoyable. Like the cinematics, even during a fight scene, really, really well done. So you can just grab them and throw them into a spike, or hammer their face. Like it.
Yep.
And it's got on-screen commands for it. So from that perspective, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, okay.
Like
that is
if you go back to what you used to play at the arcade, you had to just know from reading a Nintendo magazine as to what the fatalities were, and if
someone told you
exactly, have it written down on a scrap piece of paper.
I do remember those days in your pocket with a pocket full of 20-cent coins.
Absolutely, 20 cent. Wow.
I'm old. So to go back to the tutorial, like I said, I spent the time to go through the whole thing, and if I'm honest, I think it probably took me 2 or 3 sessions to complete it, fully, because it's huge and it is super in depth. But there's some really good information in there, which I've never seen in a fighting game or been told. Like things like I think they call it frame data. Like by a heavier attack, even if it's just a single kick or punch, takes 7 frames to get started.
Wow.
And if it's like a 30 frame per second.
Yep.
I think 7 of those frames.
And it gave you that data.
It tells you that information. So that sort of gives you that background and knowledge of, okay, well, if I execute this heavy kick, for example, at the same time that they execute like a light punch that only takes 3 frames to get started, their punch is going to land and my kick's not, because they're going to get in first. Gotcha. And it goes through a lot of information like that, which, realistically, is it overkill and do you need it? As an average gamer, no, God no, not a chance. Like you've explained that you 100% don't need it. And also because it took so long, and if I had 3 half-hour sessions or 3 45-minute sessions or whatever it was to finish the whole tutorial, because like everything, it tells you execute this move and you do it. Oh, you didn't do it right. Do it again. Oh, you didn't do it right. Do it again. Oh, you didn't get it. Do it again. Oh, you got it. Cool. Tick. Move on to the next one. So obviously that was, sometimes it got a little bit tedious, but the other thing for me, I got to the end of it, and how much of it do I remember? Maybe 10 or 12% of it actually stuck in my head. So whether you then get into gaming situations where you think, oh, hold on a minute, I can go back and do that because I remember something about this situation, maybe I could. But to be honest, I think if you just jump in and do the basic movement and combo tutorials, you're going to be fine if you're just going to jump on and have a bit of fun.
I like that it gives you the option, though. Like you've got... You can be super casual with it. Just jump on, start an arcade mode and, knock off half a dozen fights and be done with it. Or you can play online. There is a fairly comprehensive story mode. If you've got time to invest, you can do it. Like I'm not going to lie, I played on a very easy setting, but I didn't lose a round. So if you wanted to get better, you can just up your difficulty as you go through, learn, like you can spend some time learning the moves, or you can just have a fun, stress relieving, beating the shit out of someone and moving on. Yeah. I like the option that it's an easy to learn but hard to master sort of game.
Yeah, most definitely. And there's plenty of content as far as different game modes. Like you mentioned the story mode. There's Towers of Time, and then there's Classic Towers. And then obviously there's online, which I'm going to be honest with you, I'm probably never going to explore playing online because maybe one day I'll give it a crack just to see what it's like, but I don't predict for me as someone that knows 2 or 3 combinations for 1 or 2 fighters.
You'd just be fodder. You'd be fodder for somebody else who did spend the time.
Yeah, I don't know. Unless maybe they rank it really well. I can look into that as I get further down. I spend a little bit more time in it, but at the moment I'm spending most of my time in either story mode or in the towers. So I guess to touch on the story mode, you're seeing the intro scenes to the story mode now.
Still.
Yeah, this was a frustrating thing for me, was that you spend way more time watching cinematic cutscenes with corny, cheesy lines than fighting in story mode.
Christy actually thought I was watching an animated movie. She came in and was talking, and then I was like, oh, you're doing a thing. Yeah.
Oh, my controller's gone to sleep. I need to wake it back up and turn it back on. Like the thing I like about it is that it forces you to use...
Exactly.
All the characters as you go through. Like I think you start with T.A.G.G in the first one, and then I can't even remember off the top of my head who you move to next. But basically, I think you'll do 3 or 4 fights with one character, and then the storyline progresses to another character. They sort of tie those storylines in, and then they spread off in different directions. But it does force you to use some different characters. So if you've sort of played like me, I think I was always Liu Kang back in the day. Yeah, so I guess if you do dive into story mode and spend a bit of time there, it'll take you out of just using what you know. Yep. And then maybe, this character actually is kind of cool. They've got some cool combos and moves that I like. Because from my point of view, I guess if I'm going to play ever online or in the towers and have some fun with it, I need to pick 1 or 2 characters.
Yeah. You
of
pick one
combos.
that works well for you, and then... kind of explore from there. But
because I thought the character selection was pretty extensive.
Okay.
You apparently didn't.
Look, again, not knowing a lot about previous Mortal Kombat, just dabbling from time to time, I thought that historically Tekken has had a lot more. Like I'd suggest maybe about double. And if you look at Super Smash, which kind of a different caliber of game, but it's still a beat 'em up of sorts. The current one has every character that it's ever had, plus new ones. So there's
Wow.
It was a lot. Obviously, it's not the same level of combat. Like this
Yeah.
is far and away more, but like all the favorites are there.
Yeah.
Even from someone who doesn't have that greater knowledge of Mortal Kombat, all your favorites are there, plus some new ones that I'd never seen before.
Mm-hmm.
So comparatively, it's probably got a good number of
Yeah, I know there are some downloadable characters coming as well, where they're talking about some historical Mortal Kombat characters as well as some, I guess you might call them special guests. I've heard a rumor about a Terminator character, which sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
That
Twisted Metal. There's a guy from Twisted
Yeah.
Metal who apparently will be popping in at some point.
Yeah, so I'd be really interested to see what they do with a Terminator character in the other one. So I think Nightwolf is another favorite from like Mortal Kombat 2. I think that's going to be in there.
Cool.
And we'll see sort of what
that's
else.
The beautiful thing with games nowadays where you have DLC, like you can just add things as you're going through. So for a launch, the fact that you have to learn so many characters to, let's say, clock the game, there's a heap of content. Absolute heap of content.
Yeah, and you'll see, I think we just saw there were some sort of, in the middle of fights, they have some different animations for different movements and like, brutal shots and things like that you end up with, which are pretty cool. They happen super smooth and they look awesome.
And it's not something that you have to learn either. Like it pops up on the screen that you can.
Yeah.
Just execute it.
Yep, super over the top blood and gore, obviously. Those sort of lengthy, sort of 10-second combo cutscenes are not fun if you're on the receiving end of them, and you've just got to sit there and watch your rib cage get cracked and things like that. But if you execute it, it's kind of cool to watch, which is good fun. But then the other game modes, there's the towers. Did you spend any time in the towers?
I spent most of my time in the towers. So right. I spent a good deal of time getting into the story and what it involves, and switching characters and finding out how the story evolves. But I wanted to play with Scorpion. Like that's always been my go-to, and I wasn't getting to do it, so I went, I'm going to check out the towers. And I just went with a classic tower. Again, more of an arcade experience. Jumped straight into it. Yep. Again, I'd already kind of mastered left punch, right kick, right kick. Figured out a couple of moves to Scorpion and knocked out a heap of towers, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah,
okay. So the towers they're just like a certain amount of enemies, 5, 7.
Yeah, you can
12.
choose. There are multiple ones, and again, depending on what sort of time frame you have, you can choose I think it was 5 was the smallest one, up to an infinite. So you can just continue to play until you're done.
And what do you get for doing that as far as in-game rewards go?
To be honest, I didn't really get that far into it.
Because I know there's a coin system.
Well, the coins, you did get coins.
Used,
and obviously we'll touch on this later. There's, an island that you can go and unlock a heap of stuff.
That's Shang Tsung's island. Shang Tsung, I think he's another one of the downloadable characters that's coming.
But I think you can upgrade your character a lot. And again, I didn't explore this. I was happy playing in an arcade mode. But there is a lot more depth to it that I haven't had a chance to explore.
Yeah, I think from what I had a quick look in there, and I did have a look around that island a little bit as well and unlocked some chests, but there's a lot of aesthetic things you can change. Like you can change Kung Lao's hat. There's the clothing and things like that you can change. I think there might be some maybe slight modifiers that certain things might add through there. But then I think another big part of it is the Towers of Time, because this is where there are modifiers through there that I've looked at. Like you might do a random fight and there might be random meteors that land, or the character that you're fighting might be constantly healing, and you can buy and unlock your own modifiers that you can then take into that fight. That maybe
makes sense.
Maybe it's a heal yourself once completely or something like that you can hit a button to use this, or it might increase your attack power for a certain amount of time or something like that. So that adds, I guess, a slight different random element to it as opposed to just the straight up 2-round fights.
Well, your replayability obviously goes up a bunch, just purely because you can change it up to make it more the way you want it to be.
Yeah, so there is that as well. Then there is, as you mentioned, there's the Shang Tsung's Island, which is... I'm mixed on the experience with it. Initially, it was kind of cool because there's some little puzzles and sort of things like that you need to kind of solve, like moving things around to unlock a certain door, or finding a gem that then goes in as a key to a door or something like that, which was kind of cool. But then I guess in a way I got tired of it pretty quick, and it's just from what I could see, just a random thing. There's chests and things everywhere that you can go and spend these coins, or I think you get, if you do perform fatalities, you get hearts and things like that you can then use to unlock different chests, which is a way of unlocking a lot of those aesthetic things. But also from the research I've done and from what I've seen is that it's also a way to unlock the player's second fatalities and their brutalities as well. And I think at this stage, from what I can see, that might be the only, or at least it's definitely the main way of unlocking these extra fatalities and brutalities and moves. And it's, I think, completely random as far as the chest. Like, there might be certain tiers, levels of chests, but I think if you go, I don't know, I might be wrong with this, but I think if it's a specific chest that, a location on the island, I don't think that will always give you.
So he's got to pray to RNG this a lot.
I think so. So if we're wrong, please let us know. But I think that's the way. And to be honest, that if it was all just aesthetic stuff, I guess it wouldn't really annoy me, because then I just wouldn't go to the island, because I don't care about that. I don't care what color shirt my character wears. No, that doesn't bother me at all. I'm not interested in that. But if it's an extra moveset or something else kind of cool like that, then yeah, I'd kind of want to unlock it. But I guess for me, I'd probably prefer to unlock it based on gameplay and that achievement, as opposed to the random, hey, you got lucky.
It's not core gameplay to unlock something that is core gameplay. Like, it's Mortal Kombat. The whole premise of this game is the brutality of it, and the brutalities and fatalities and everything goes along with it. So to lock that content behind having to run around a random island that's not part of the core fighting gameplay seems a little odd.
Yeah. So that I guess kind of annoyed me a little bit. Like I said, it was fun for probably 10 minutes before it became pretty tedious. I don't see the point of this myself. I just kind of want to get back into the gameplay. So I guess from the sounds of it, the towers are probably where I need to spend more of my time, as opposed to the story mode.
Story was cool. It's a fairly in-depth story, and it follows the stories of all of your favorite characters and some new ones going through. So it's definitely worth a play. But you want to have some time, because the cutscenes, it's like a movie.
Yeah. I've heard, like, from some of the stuff I've read online, people are saying that the storylines are the best storyline that's ever been in a Mortal Kombat game before. So I'm sure it is. It's probably more if you follow the Mortal Kombat lore and you've followed it for all these years and all the games, you're probably going to enjoy it a little bit more. Like I said, I haven't been involved in the Mortal Kombat world for a long time now, so I haven't caught up on all that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of stuff going on in history and characters that I don't recognize. So if you've been into it before, you'll probably enjoy it a little bit more. But from the gameplay, just jump in, have a bit of fun. I think the towers are probably definitely the go-to. If you want to dabble in the online stuff, good luck. Do that at your own peril, I guess. But I'm sure you'd probably have a little bit of fun with it for a little while. I don't know what the ranking system's like, but we'd wait and see. What else did you find out about it?
Did I find out about it?
Or did you find throughout your gameplay, did you enjoy any other points you didn't like?
Not really. Like, it was everything I expected it to be. Again, it's been a long time since playing a beat 'em up, so it was a refreshing change of pace for me. Story did go, like, the cutscenes were a little long, but you can just circumnavigate that by just playing the towers, which was cool. You have access to most of the characters straight away, as opposed to...
none of them are locked behind any kind of achievements,
maybe like one or two. And you probably just need to complete the story to unlock that, or something, which would be fairly straightforward. Yeah. No, I really only have positive things to say about it.
Yeah, okay. No, that's cool. Well, I think that's, like I said, from my point of view, I think as the average gamer to get in there, you probably just want to go through, do a couple of practices with some different characters, find one, maybe two that you like, but basically just, I'd say find one and just concentrate on sort of learning some basics with them, make them your main character, and go through and have a bit of fun.
Or if you got time, play through the story, try out the different characters, and then know what you like and play on from there.
Yep, no, that's true. So to go to the ratings, learning curve. So learning curve, I guess, is one of our rating systems based on how hard is it to get a grasp on the game, how hard is it to learn before you can jump in and play it and have a good time. My rating on the learning curve, just because as we said earlier, I'm a little bit different. I like to play through the tutorial and get more of a full understanding of a game and then dive into it. So I gave it a 5. because it was complicated. It took a long time. With a K, everything's with a K. Good point. and I forgot it all.
Yeah.
Basically, by the time I finished it, I was like, "Oh shit! I probably need to do the tutorial again."
Yeah.
And didn't want to do that, so I gave it a 5 out of 10 for a learning curve. Josh,
I went with an 8. Like, if you've played a beat 'em up before, it's pretty intuitive.
Yep.
Punch, kick, like it. At which point, like, it's an easy to learn, hard to master. Like, I did play in an easy setting, but I didn't lose a round.
Sure.
So, you know, if you just want to get on there and mash buttons, you'll probably get through the storyline. You might knock off some easy towers. You don't have to invest a lot of time to enjoy the story and the core gameplay for it. However, if you do have the time, you know, you can spend that time and get really good. So I thought it was easy to pick up. So
cool.
An 8.
Yeah, nice. And then time to start. So that is how long, starting the game up, how long, what have I got to go through before I can actually get into some solid gameplay and away I go if I've only got half an hour to play. Now, as we had different experiences, I spent more of my time with the storyline and the tutorial, and you went more down the tower line. I gave it a 7 because you could, with the viewpoint that you can just jump straight into the towers and get into that pretty quick, but the storyline, the cutscenes kind of killed that a little bit for me. So I gave it a 7 out of 10.
I went 8 again. It's pretty easy to get straight into a tower. Like, it's not, you turn it on and you're in the game. You've got to, you know, flick through to this tower and, you know, choose your character. And I think there's a couple of different options for the play style of the characters. It's not hard, but it's very easy to get into the arcade aspect of it.
And then session time. So session time ties in a little bit as well, but if I've got an hour to play, can I get some meaningful achievements done? Can I get some solid gameplay out? I went with a 7 again, just mainly because that sort of factor of, yes, you can do the towers. I didn't spend that much time. My experience was with the story mode, and I spent a hell of a lot more time just sitting there watching, listening to dialogue than actually throwing punches and kicks. So I gave it a 7 out of 10 for session time.
Session time for me, again, very different experience. I went with a 10.
First 10 rating we've had.
We're not very deep into
throwing it out in the second review.
Yeah, look, it is what it is. Like, you can choose to jump in. You can do a 5 tower. You can do a single fight. You can go into a training mode, or you can commit to story. If you've got half an hour, you can probably run 2 or 3 towers.
Sure.
If the missus is, you know, reading a book, you can commit to story time. The options are there. If you want to spend time, there's plenty of content to do it. Or if you've just got a quick, you know, stress busting session, you can absolutely do that as well.
Sure. And then gameplay. So how much fun is the gameplay? Is it smooth? Does it work really well? Is it sort of enjoyable in that sense? I gave it an 8 out of 10 because once you do get into it, it is super smooth. It's the combat mechanics and the engine of it are really, really good and easy to play and enjoyable. Like I said, if you find 2 or 3 combos and special moves and just get your head around that and don't worry about the super 20 hit long combos that
Killer
you see some people do. Yeah, if you just focus on that, it is easy to sort of get through when you get to the fights. So from the gameplay point of view, I gave it an 8 out of 10 because it is a good game to play.
I went slightly less. I went with the 7 for this one, just because beat 'em ups are fairly polarizing. I think you're either really into it and you love it and will spend a heap of time with it, or it's just not for you and you're not going to. But for me, I did enjoy it.
But yeah, sure. And then replayability, which is, you know, how much do I want to come back and play it? If I sit there and I've got an hour to play and I look at the catalogue of games, you know, how likely am I be to grab this one over all the others to come back to? I gave it a 6. Probably because, once again, to come back to the story mode, I just don't want to sit there and spend 40 minutes out of my hour watching cutscenes and not actually fighting. Like, if I want to do that, like you said, I'd watch a movie instead. So for me, it was a 6 out of 10 for replayability.
I went with a 7. I enjoyed it. I want to know more of the story, so I'm still very early on in the piece and want to play through, and because it wasn't enjoyable. Like, it's a great story arc and I want to know more. And just bettering myself. Like, I want to play through a higher difficulty. I want to, you know, unlock more different moves with the character, and it doesn't feel like a chore. Like, there's a couple of games I'm playing at the moment where it just feels like I'm logging on to work just because I have to get some things. Whereas this, there's nothing that I have to unlock. It's all just playing because I'm enjoying it. And yeah, I'd come back to it over a few
and I guess
titles.
one thing that is with the storyline, it is good that the cutscenes roll straight into the combat
Absolutely.
as well. There's no sort of black quick load screen or
Nope.
change or anything like that. You'll watch a cutscene and then all of a sudden the camera swings around to that traditional fight game view and it's round one, away you go.
And it looks the same. So it looks like
Yeah.
it's a playable cutscene, which is really cool.
Yeah, so they have done well with that. So to go to the overalls for Wes, myself, my overall rating in Mortal Kombat 11 was a 6.5. And I think doing the math, not that I'm great at math, but I think yours came out at an 8, Josh.
Yeah, I stand by.
Stand by that. Solid. Not going anywhere with it. So that's the review from the Average Gamer guys of Mortal Kombat 11. If you're into, I think at the end of the day, if you enjoy your fight games, whether it be Tekken, Street Fighter, I think you'll get some enjoyment out of this because it is done pretty well just as a fight game. I definitely think you'll enjoy it in that sense. And like I said, yeah, like Josh said, you can get some quick time out of the towers. Just depends, obviously, what you're into, basically. But any last words?
Not at all. I think we summed it up pretty well.
So that was Mortal Kombat 11 on the PS4, but obviously it's going to be the same on Xbox, PC,
You'd hope so.
any other platform. I don't see it changing. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you with the next one.